Now come on, Rick, what is this? Is this twisting machine? Let's have a look, see how it works.
Well, that's basically a plumb which we attach to the line when we've put some twist in it. It will revolve and untwist. Now it sits on top of there, and when it revolves over the sensor you'll see the counter count the twists.
Ah, right.
So there's no guesswork involved. We can find out exactly how many twists or counter twists we've put in the line. So if I show you now the correct way to load the line, and we'll simulate a couple of takes off a carp, the incorrect way and simulate the same amount of takes, we'll count the difference in the line twists and we'll see if one way is better than the other.
Okay.
Right, so now we're going to load the line onto the reel the correct way and simulate some carp action.
Right, so off the spool, Rick, it's coming off anti-clockwise.
That's right, you're coming off anti-clockwise, we're through the butt ring. I've already done a spool loop on there. We'll tighten that down onto the spool, put a bail in. Now, okay, if you don't mind just moving that up to there.
Yep.
I'll put this little gadget on the line. That stops the twist coming out.
Yep.
Cut the line there. Now, over there, we've got a two-handed carp. So we go into bait runner mode. Carp takes line.
There we go.
Okay, he's taken about just over a rod length of line. Okay, now that could be your first run. It's not an awful lot of line to lose. We strike the fish, whack it in, and we gain a bit of line back. So we're putting line back on the reel. Now the carp takes off again.
Off he goes. A lively customer.
A lively customer. So he's had a couple of rod lengths of line off us, that's all.
Yep.
Whoops, we put the bait runner in again. And we've got the carp back. We get him into the margins, and he's a big un. And off he goes again. Okay, so we've simulated loading it correctly, and we've had 3 carp runs over that length of line to induce some twists. Now, if we count the twists, we'll find out whether loading it the correct way gave us slightly less twists than if we loaded it incorrectly, which we'll do next time. Right, we're now about to put the rod up into the ceiling. We want the line just to go dangle straight down and untwist. Now, would you mind holding that? Don't let it untwist, because that contains the amount of twists we want.
There we go.
That goes the line.
There it goes.
Right, we'll just connect that up to our little machine. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There she goes, look at that.
20.
Now this is on just 3 short runs.
Sorry. Yeah, indeed. Right. 40.
Yeah.
41.
Blimey. That looks like
47.
That's a hell of a lot of twists.
It is, but it'd be a lot worse if we'd loaded the line incorrectly. Let me show you what happens when we do that.
Okay, we've got using a fresh length of line here and loading directly off the front of the spool. Now this is the way I've read in the press, surely.
Sure, I've read the same articles. It doesn't make sense. Let's load it this way and let the machine do the talking.
Okay.
So connect up onto our spool. Put it through the bail on first.
Okay.
Okay. If we can go back there to our mark.
Yep.
I'll put the little clip on. Now if you can hold that clip, Chris, I'll take the spool.
Okay.
let's cut that off. Now we'll simulate the same 3 carp runs that we did on the last correctly loaded spool.
This is where that fella with that carp with the 2 hands.
This is where the 2-handed carp comes in. So we'll let her off, pass her to the 2-handed carp.
Okay, in she comes.
Okay, we've had our initial take. Put the bait runner in again. Had a second load of line taken.
That's right. Yes, this is the second lively one we've had.
This is another good fish.
And
it's fighting very much like the last one we hooked. That's taking the line out again. So we wind him back in and eventually land.
Okay, I'll hold this.
So if you could hold that,
yeah, no problem
we'll
at all.
put the rod back up into the roof.
Okay. There it goes.
As you can see, we've got quite a lot of twist to contend with here, Chris.
Wow.
Right, let's put it on the machine and see what results we get this time.
Okay, and last time we know there was 47.
There was 47 twists.
Right.
10, 20, 30, 40,
Oh, past the marker.
50, 60.
Yep. There's more twists.
Yeah, you're talking, I mean, you've got 62 on the counter, call that I don't know. 63? You're over 60 twists. So at any rate, we're talking at over 60 twists, which, what in round figures, is 20% extra. I can't see the point of loading line and inducing 20% extra line twists. That's where I'm coming from.
And that's just with 3 short runs.
Exactly, yeah. 3 rod lengths.
Amazing.
I mean, you know, imagine the amount of line that you get if you have a real hard fighting fish. To be honest, that's the sort of amount of line you'd let off if you were depth finding.
Yes.
Or in many ways, if you put the rod down, put it on the bait runner to position it in the rests. Whenever you use the clutch, you're inducing line twists.
Because we're lazy, aren't we?
We are lazy, and to be fair, it's a heck of an efficient way of bite indicator. It makes the rig works.
Yes.
You know, I'm not criticising guys who use a marker float that way because they want the sensitivity of being able to pull the line out.
Yes.
Run it through the swivel. They don't want to be peeling it off a spool and having it twist up. So you can see, you know, we've got no option but to do it. But so long as we're aware of the twists we're putting in and why, and the importance of loading the line right, we can minimise our problem.
Well, Rick, you've convinced me.
It's all down to my little machine, mate. That's what it must be.
Okay, show us how you fill a spool.
Okay, well, to coin a phrase, here's one I prepared earlier. Okay, we're about to load the line. As we know, the reel rotor turns in a clockwise direction, so the line must come off in an anti-clockwise direction because it's basically facing the spool and transferring itself. Now, you get a lot of spools with little notches in them like that. Sometimes when the line comes off, it can catch in those notches. A useful tip is to put something larger circumference than the spool, like a saucer. We just happen to have a gadget here called a Baggett PVA bag filler, which fits and is colour-coded for these spools. I simply put the spool on the floor so the line can come off it vertically. I get back to the rod and wind that on. Winding line onto the reel through steady pressure through my fingers. You hold it as far away from the spool as you can to give the spool a chance to spin evenly. You've actually got coils of line coming up through the rod, simply because they're coming off the bulk spooling coils, through the rings, but when they go onto the spool, the coil is reversed, so we're actually spooling straight line, which is what we want to be doing. And you might as well wind them up more or less to the top so they're level with the front of the spool. Modern reels with decent line lay will take that degree of overfilling no problem at all. In fact, big pit guys go overfill.